So welcome to episode 2 of Behind the Bar. Here we are again in our second season, which again, I just want to note that as far as I know, and I hope I don't get in trouble for this later, that no other season was rescheduled. Woody, am I right about this? Are you scheduled anyways, right, Fred?
Right.
You've done a great job.
We did.
And we have a great guest today. Who do we have? We have Mary Massey. And Mary Massey is our Manager of Programs and Education over at Thomas Jefferson's Poplar Forest. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
And you guys have been a resident since we opened. And we're so excited to see what you guys have for us. Your next performance with us is September 25th.
Yes.
So hopefully, out of that COVID cusp,
fingers crossed,
of having to make 17 different plans,
right.
we'll see how it goes. But we might just have to make 4 plans and then can one of them. We'll figure out. But it's going to happen. So before we get way into it, we have our, whatever this is. What is this? This is Vodka Citrus Squeeze by Waterbird. Fred, tell us more.
Yes. All right, once again, our generous sponsors at Blue Ridge Beverage came through with a different drink for us. This is a canned cocktail, and it's from Waterbird. It's a Vodka Citrus Squeeze. And Waterbird is based in Charlottesville, Virginia. And they use premium distilled spirits carefully sourced from around the world. Waterbird creates an incredibly unique drinking experience for connoisseurs and adventurers alike. And it's 5%. So 5% ABV. So let's...
I won't drink anything less than 5%. It just feels like a waste if you do.
Let's go ahead and open them up and check it out.
Vodka. So it's actually kind of delightful because we received all of our beverages before all of these shootings this time. So usually we would just tell the guests what they're drinking, but it's been kind of fun because this time the guests get to pick out what they're drinking. Why did you choose the Vodka Citrus Squeeze? Just is this do you like vodka or are you usually a vodka drinker?
I'm not a huge vodka drinker. I don't really know. I think the citrus.
Citrus
stuck out to me. It was a little.
She definitely didn't want the IPA.
I did not want the IPA. That was my biggest fear of doing this. Is y'all are going to make me drink an IPA.
I like that. Yeah. All right. Well, let's remove our masks and give it a taste. I've never heard of Waterbird, so this will be interesting.
Me either. I'm excited.
Oh, that's one of those you could.
That's one of those dangerous ones.
It is.
Yes, it is.
That's
you could definitely citrus.
That's a day at the pool and you're just drinking cool concoctions and then all of a sudden...
Yep.
You're in trouble.
You don't know how you're going to get
You're
home.
doing stupid stuff.
Yeah, it sounded delicious based off of the title and description, but it's better than I thought it was going to be.
It is very good.
Yeah, it is. It's very good.
And it has real vodka in it. I mean, that's what blows my mind is I don't know why. I always steer away from these pre-mixed concoctions, but it's potato vodka. Did you see this? It's made with real potato vodka. What is real vodka made out of that's not? What?
Well, I think your Russian and Polish vodkas are potato-based. Yeah. And, like Grey Goose and stuff, they're grain-based. So.
It's made from American-grown potatoes.
Look at
How
that.
about
Learn
that?
a little bit of something every day.
Yeah.
Wow. Good choice, Mary Massey.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy with it.
So
we like to keep them happy.
So, Mary, you work for Thomas Jefferson's Poplar Forest.
Yes.
Let me know when we can start abbreviating that.
At any point.
Poplar Forest. Thank you. So, tell us a little bit. First off, tell us a little bit about what you do there.
Yeah, sure. So, Thomas Jefferson's Poplar Forest was Thomas Jefferson's retreat home in Forest, Virginia. So, most people know about Monticello, his main residence in Charlottesville, but we are the house he designed and had built for his retirement years. So he's coming down to Poplar Forest, after he's retired from the presidency. He's coming, 3 or 4 times a year, staying for a few weeks to a few months at a time, really kind of playing around with a lot of architecture that he studied, his whole adult life, but also running a plantation. He owned almost 5,000 acres of land at Poplar Forest. It was a big enterprise in Jefferson's day, and an important piece of property for him. So we're trying to, get the word out a little bit more. We've only been open to the public for about 35 years, which in only, but in terms of, the major, founding fathers, historical houses, it's not that long. And I always joke on tours, that, Jefferson was really kind of coy about Poplar Forest because he had so many visitors just showing up at Monticello that a lot of times
he didn't want to talk about it.
He didn't want to mention it by name. He didn't want anyone to find him. And so we're still kind of feeling some of those effects today, trying to get the word out. And we're not Monticello. We're a completely different house, but just as wonderful to visit.
Beautiful area.
Yeah, you get kind of a different sense of Jefferson, I think.
And you see the poplar trees. They're just
immense.
It is a beautiful area.
They are just absolutely
I'm
huge.
pretty sure if Fred retires, he's not going to give anybody a forwarding address.
No.
Am I right about that?
Yeah.
I mean, you sound similar to Thomas Jefferson.
We'll be on the road. RV will travel. Yeah.
There you go.
No forwarding address. That's right.
Appreciate that. So talk to us about COVID right now. I mean, are you guys open to the public? Are you doing small tours? Like, talk to us a little bit about what's going on in today's world.
Yeah, sure. So obviously COVID hit us as it did everybody else. And we thankfully adjusted pretty quickly. We were closed for a few months last year, but we're able to finish our visitation season at the end of December. We're traditionally closed for the first 2 weeks of January, and then we are open weekends only, so Saturdays and Sundays only from mid-January until mid-March. And so we are reopening to the public on January 16th. For regular tours, we'll have tours offered from 10:30 to 3:30 every hour. Tours limited to about 5 people max, plus the docent. Because it's an indoor area, the house isn't that large. We want to ensure that everybody can socially distance properly. And then kind of all of those standard safety procedures of mask wearing, social distancing in buildings, all of that still apply. But we're very lucky that we've been able to be open for most of the year. We're really excited to reopen for winter weekends, and barring any unforeseen circumstances with COVID numbers or anything, we should be open every weekend until March 15th when we reopen 7 days a week.
So are you guys still doing additional events on your campus? I mean, I think have you been home to a few concerts for some of our resident companies at some point?
We've been in talks with some of the residency companies, especially this last year when everything just went crazy. And unfortunately, we really weren't able to do much last year. But we have scheduled or rescheduled all of our events that we typically do throughout the year. So we have our full event calendar scheduled for this year with a few
wine festivals.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Wine festival will be back. Oh, I hope wine festival will be back.
That's when I went.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah.
Appropriate for the show. Wine festival was a big miss for us. I mean, not just for a revenue generator, but
it brings probably so many people who might not ever typically come to your campus, your campus, which is awesome. Which is what we try to do. We try to come up with some things that have nothing to do with performance sometimes, so that other people will come and see our venue. So it's a smart move. Yeah,
and Jefferson's like known as this wine connoisseur. I mean, most people, if they know anything about Jefferson other than being president and writing the Declaration of Independence, it's usually wine. Yeah. So, it's totally appropriate.
He tried vineyards and they failed, but they did come up with a local type of grape that they were able to grow. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yep.
But that was mostly at Monticello, I think.
It was. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, he had an orchard at Poplar Forest, and he grew certain crops mainly to make alcohol or liquor, like brandies, things like that, which he didn't participate with or drink, but he had it for workers. He gave some to enslaved workers, kind of as payment for work above and beyond their sort of normal duties. Yeah. So, he's always experimenting with crops and, like trying to start a vineyard at Monticello, and which, quite possibly sort of laid the groundwork for today. I mean, Virginia's got tons of wineries now. Yeah. So
we were talking. Were you and I talking about that there's so many more wineries and breweries now in Virginia? It's like it's absolutely crazy. And even just in our downtown area, you can walk around to several different breweries, which it's insane to see that. Having been a resident of downtown now for 7 years, it blows my mind that I can walk one way or the other way and run into a brewery, which is pretty awesome.
Right.
So it really has come a long way in Virginia, which has always been a kind of weird in ABC regulations. It's always been much more restrictive in Virginia than other places that you see. There has to be all these like you have to sell a certain amount of food and all of these things.
Yeah,
but like
once they changed that law, it just poof, blossomed right from there. You know, it did. Once they no food required, okay. Let's open up a brewery.
we joke all the time, like we don't know what's going to happen if they go back to that. You can't order dinner and get drinks also. Like that is one COVID perk that has happened for all residents of Virginia, right? And then what's going to happen if I can't order my margarita to go? It's going to piss a bunch of people off. That's what it's going to do, right, Fred? It just is. So let's see. Let's hope for the best there. Yeah. So Mary, that's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that you guys are going to try to retain your season. And it's definitely a crazy world out there, but I get it. We also are planning for May and beyond, so we're going to hope for the best. You guys usually do a spring and a fall here with us. This year, we're just going to focus on fall. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about your September 25th performance.
Yeah, so year before last, we moved our annual Conversations with Mr. Jefferson program here to the Academy. We changed the format slightly. I mean, we've done this event at Poplar Forest for about 20 years, I think. And we have Bill Barker, who is a interpreter of Thomas Jefferson, who was at Colonial Williamsburg. He's now at Monticello. He comes and brings a contemporary of Jefferson's typically. So we've had most of the other founding fathers. Mm-hmm. We've done Eliza Hamilton, Dolly Madison, King George III, which was a really fun one. That was really interesting. And they come and sort of just have a conversation, kind of go through their life stories, how they knew each other, in real life. And last year, or 2019, when we had the opportunity to bring it to the Academy, we were really excited about sort of opening it up to a whole new audience of people. And so we did
And is that location, like, did you think that moving it from Forest and bringing it, a little bit more central Lynchburg was going to be a good move to get the Thomas Jefferson name out? Or I think it'd be interesting to hear a little bit about why you guys chose it.
Yeah, I think that was part of the thought process for us because, Poplar Forest is not the easiest place to get to. It's in the middle of a residential neighborhood due to, development and things over the years.
That bridge, is that bridge still there?
Yes.
It's that bridge.
Yeah, Bateman Bridge Road is the bane of our existence. But we're working on a new parkway. And I mean, we've been in the process of
a long time.
Raising money and finding a contractor for years now. But fingers crossed, 2021 is the year. We're going to break ground on the road. Which will be
coming off of Enterprise
Drive. Yeah. So that'll be a huge help. It'll also be a two-way road, which is also very exciting because even if you make it over Bateman Bridge Road and get to our main entrance, it's a one-way gravel driveway, so you have to leave a totally different way.
I remember the first time ever getting to that bridge, I had to look at it twice. I was like, I pictured that scene in Funny Farm where that truck drives over this bridge and it just collapsed. And I had to look at it a couple times. I was like, am I really supposed to drive over this? And then I did. And then I was like, okay. But there was this moment because you're like, wow, that's the bridge, anyways.
Yeah, because there's not that many wooden humpback bridges in this area. So it's a little unnerving. And we get calls from visitors.
Maybe they'll add a roundabout instead.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
That's what we're doing now. Roundabout.
Just replace it with a roundabout. It'll all be fine.
Just keep the bridge.
Yeah, and that one's interesting too because I believe that either there's a railroad track that goes underneath it, and I think the railroad company maintains that bridge. So it's not even like a VDOT thing.
All of it's wild.
Yeah, it's a little it's crazy.
But so coming to the Academy was getting you guys kind of a new. The reason was a new audience. Maybe.
Yeah, it's a little easier to find, much more central location. People that aren't necessarily willing to trek out to Poplar Forest for an event that isn't the wine festival. Might be more willing to come out to the Academy, which is a larger venue too. Mm-hmm. Which is great. So that was sort of the thought process, and we want to be more involved in the community with other museums, performance spaces, kind of build more of those partnerships. And so this was just, the residency program was a perfect opportunity to do
So that was actually a good thing that you just said. What is your capacity at Poplar? If you do a performance there, what do you guys usually bring in as far as your
Well, it depends on the program. In 2019, we did I wish I could remember how many years we've done it now. I'm blanking. I think our 5th or 6th year of 1776, the musical. We do that to kind of kick off the July 4th celebration. I'm going to hear from some of the actors that know exactly how many years we've been doing it when this airs. But
well, good. That means they're watching.
Yeah, which is great. In 2019, the last year we were able to do it, we had about 600 people on property each night, which is insane for a theater performance. Our wine festival in 2019, we had about 2,000 people.
So you can fit.
Yeah, it's a big open outdoor space, but of course it's an outdoor space. So you've got to worry about weather. With our conversations program that we moved down here, we put a tent up in the yard. We have a secondary tent for a reception that happens after the performance. And so, it's a lot more work on our part. Mm-hmm. Getting
outdoor
people.
Events are just a lot of work.
They are. And they're difficult because, if it rains, what do you do?
Oh, yeah.
Do
you guys have tents? Do you guys usually rent stuff like that in?
We rent it.
Yeah. So moved down here to the Academy, started doing your spring and your fall performances. Mm-hmm. And so talk to us a little bit about what is planned for this coming September.
So this September, I'm really excited. I was super excited last year and then so sad when we had to cancel it because we knew this year was coming. It's been coming for a few years where we've kind of run out of important people from Jefferson's Day, to feature. Yeah. And, we could start, sort of recycling and bringing back like a George Washington or something like that. But we really wanted to kind of push the envelope. And we've had visitors and attendees kind of say to us, like, why don't you bring in like Abraham Lincoln or someone from like a different time period? Just kind of add a different dynamic. And so
these are history buffs.
Right.
This is your problem.
Exactly. Yeah. And so last year we planned to do that. And so since it was canceled, we're bringing it to 2021. And we're actually having Frederick Douglass come and talk to Jefferson, which is going to be super interesting for so many reasons. Frederick Douglass was obviously an abolitionist. He was he escaped slavery and fought for women's right to vote and women's rights as well. So I think the history around him is so dynamic and so interesting and so not counter to Jefferson, but, in Jefferson's day, women's rights issues weren't the top of the list of what they were worried about. They were trying to build America, and create the government as it is. And, obviously slavery is such a touchy subject, but one that, especially as one of Jefferson's homes, that we really want to acknowledge and embrace that history and not shy away from it. So I'm really excited to see how these two interpreters kind of tackle a lot of those subjects that could be a little touchy and difficult to talk about.
Which, having tough conversations is the way to get to a better place. And so I think it's wise that you are willing to explore that as an organization, and that's what we talk about a lot here at the Academy is sometimes being uncomfortable is part of the world and the way.
Absolutely.
So good. So we always talk about internally here how much we love having you because you don't demand a lot, and I don't mean that in any weird way, but like your set and your needs are very simple in a good way, and that's because you focus on the content and the actors, and you're not, doing crazy projections and things that I think would distract from the meaningful content that you're trying to provide. So you're always beloved here by our production staff. Because they're like, they just shove in a couch and they have a person and you're just like, it's really great. We love working with you guys. So anything else you want to mention about September or about just Poplar or anything that would be good for our watchers of Behind the Bar, which we believe is very heavily watched? I mean, I don't remember, Fred, but I feel like it was way up there.
Did we get good
just
ratings?
How we got
Are we getting good ratings?
Here.
I don't know.
I feel like the ratings are strong. Mary. So if you had to go into our people, what would you want them to know?
Well, I think the biggest thing as always is just, knowing that Poplar Forest is there and where it is.
Over that bridge.
Yes. If you brave the bridge.
The bridge is not that bad.
It's really not. But, we've got, there's so much there and so many interesting stories, to tell. And, Jefferson's such a fascinating figure. And I don't want anyone to think that, because we're talking about certain topics, because we're bringing certain things to the forefront, like slavery, Jefferson's views on it, the enslaved people that lived at Poplar Forest, that like your visitor experience to Poplar Forest is going to be like a lecture series or not entertaining or fun. Like we're just trying to build a full, well-rounded picture of what life was like at Poplar Forest, which I think is really interesting. And, something that I bring up a lot to my staff, because for some reason my brain works a little weirdly, but I think about Jefferson as being at Poplar Forest, coming to visit, and then he never leaves. Like that's where he is for the whole 2 months he's in the area. And like, that's not true. Jefferson was here in downtown Lynchburg. Like he came down here to shop. And at one point there was a new hotel being constructed, and he stopped to watch construction happening because that was a thing he liked to do.
Oh, that's interesting.
And he ends up, meeting the builder, the owner of the hotel, who asked him to create a wine list for the hotel, which is so interesting. So, I mean, like, there's Jefferson connections to downtown Lynchburg today, just like there were when Jefferson was here. And so kind of fostering a lot of those stories and kind of making those connections, I think is really interesting. And that's what we're trying to do.
Well, it sounds like manager of programs and education that you are doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing, which is really great. So thank you so much for coming on today and for enjoying this vodka citrus squeeze, which is really very good.
It's really
good.
It's
very light. It's very like the
very
dangerous pool drink.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it says
so
right
good.
on the can, wet your beak.
It's perfect.
Because
Perfect
it's from
description.
Waterbird.
Yeah, Waterbird, wet
Yes.
your beak.
Yes.
Here's a Poplar Forest.
So yes,
Cheers.
to Poplar Forest. And we were actually saying in this last episode, I am pretty good, I feel like, at introducing people. But then when it's time to go, I'm just like, bye. Or like, that's it. So I think we should go out just saying cheers.
Love it.
Cheers.
Cheers.